Hi, everybody.
What's up, y'all?
My name is Cambria Caldwell, aka Cam the Queen. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and this is my co host.
My name is Jamel Brownridge, aka Coach J, and I am a certified life coach.
Yes, yes. And so today, on this special episode of Self Love is the Key Wellness, we're going to be doing something called Ask Us a Question. Okay. And it's the beginning of the month, so I thought it would be nice to show that I have my direct deposit candle lit. I got my
Periods.
it smells divine. Just thought it'd be fitting since it's the first, second of the month around that time. Um, so Coach Jay has a client who had a question for us, and we were going to talk about it just live off the dome.
Okay, so I'm going to play it um, off my phone, so I really do hope that you guys can hear it. Here we go. Hey, you guys, I have a question, kind of like a multiple part question. But my question is, what is sex without commitment really doing to us? Like, are we trying to fill voids when we're having sex, or is it really just to get pleasures? What is it? What is sex really doing for us if we're not committed or married? Are we trying to have sex to get a connection? Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, do you want to you want to start it off, or you want me to start it off?
Well, the first thing that I thought of is that it really depends on the person. When you're talking
Hmm.
about what are the motives to sex, especially if you're not committed to that person or you're not married, you're not in a relationship or anything like that, because sex has different meanings for people depending on their upbringing and depending on if they've had trauma or not around sex. So that's a
Hmm.
very, very loaded question. Um, yeah, but were you going to say something, Coach Jay?
I mean, I think what you're saying is right. Like, I think it just really depends on the person. I think that if someone that has trauma or insecurities around something, a lot of people can use sex for that
Hmm.
and hope that they are connecting with their partner on a different level because they may feel that they're lacking something um, somewhere else. So, like for example, maybe they feel like they don't do enough around the house. Or maybe they feel like they don't pull their weight when it comes to just their household and bills and things like that, or like maybe emotionally they're not up to par where they need to be in their relationship emotionally, so they think that sometimes sex can substitute for that
Hmm.
you know
Yeah.
um I think that it just like you said, it just really depends on the person and it depends on the situation. I think that like personally, I think that like it's one of those things where I like personally I used to believe that I used to do it to build my confidence, when I was a
You
lot
had sex to build your
to
confidence.
build my confidence, and I used
Like
to
someone
think
whose self-worth is based on their sexual performance.
yes. And I
A lot of
felt
us. Yeah.
I used to feel like that was all that I had to offer,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
not really understanding that, I'm a great person, I'm a great catch, yada yada yada. And eventually I got into that place of like, no, I have a lot more to offer, I'm smart, yada yada yada. And if my sex is good, then it's good. If it's not, somebody else will find it to be good, like so I think it's just like you said, it just depends on the person, and it could just be the fact of them substituting sex for something else.
Right.
Um,
So a lot of times though too, because it almost sounded like your client was talking about a situationship.
mhm,
I'm just gonna go into that a little bit, right? So sometimes you get to a point where you have such familiarity with a person. They know your kinks, you know theirs, and you just develop a chemistry, a type of rhythm that you both enjoy, even though you don't do anything else outside of that. And it does happen. I think that her question was, what is it doing to us? What are we getting from this?
Hmm.
I think it just depends. Like if you're someone who is not available emotionally, if you're suppressing something about yourself, some sadness, or some insecurity, you may think that that's all you can do. That that's the best you can do is have a good session with somebody,
Hmm.
you know, or you may look at it as transactional, even.
I feel like if it's transactional, do you think that it's like could it become promiscuous at a point? Like even though it's with your partner, it's like could it be I guess promiscuous is not the right word only
I
because,
don't know. I just want to make sure I understand. So, like, how could that be promiscuous if it's like the same partner over and
right, right. That's why I said maybe that's not the right word,
over? Okay.
but like in a sense of like it becoming like too much, you know,
Ah,
like it's like how do we if for example, let's say the gentleman is wanting to have sex on a regular basis because he feels like he's lacking something, whatever that may be,
mhm.
or maybe he's not aware that he's lacking something, but in his mind he wants to have sex with his partner regularly, maybe every day, every other day, and his wife or husband um, is more along the lines of that's too much. I only want to do it once a week. I don't know, like So how does that process work?
Mm. So you're talking about someone that you're with, and
Hmm.
y'all are trying to figure out what's enough and what's too much.
Hmm.
Okay, so we're talking about something else now, like if you're with somebody, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that depends on the person, right? Again. So for one person, once a week might be enough. Like, ooh, once a week, ooh, that's great. And another person might need it like once or twice a day, and that may be what their need is. That's hard to answer too. I think that that's something that couples have to have a conversation about and agree upon.
Hmm.
Yeah. In terms of promiscuity, though, I mean, I do want to go back and kind of reference that because you did mention that word promiscuity.
Hmm.
Um, Again, I would want to know more about that person because that's a person that they're getting something from the sex. That they may or may not know what it is, but they're getting something out of it. And a lot of times it could be like, hey, this is something I know that I'm good at, and I don't mind sharing this with whoever I'm
Whomever.
attracted to.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like safety, like they could just feel safe when having sex, or
Right, feeling safe. A lot of it does come down to safety too, because we all need intimacy. Sex is one of those things that unless you're asexual. If you're asexual, it's a whole different thing. Like that's someone who does not need to have sex at all. I mean, they can have a companion, hold their hand, go on dates, go on trips, and not ever have to have sexual contact. Right. So there are people out there who are like that. Right. But if you're not asexual, it is a need. It is a real need, just like we need like sleep, food, water, all those things,
hmm.
because all of us want to feel loved and some type of connection with the person. And if you don't have any person that you can do that with on a regular basis, then you might turn to like a situationship or a transaction, where there's an understanding that you have with the other person, just so you can get that part of you, that need fulfilled.
Hmm. That was a good question. Like that really was a good question. I think that, like you're saying, it's kind of hard without like knowing a lot more background in the question.
It just depends. It's different, right? So I also think about, so I'm trying to just give some examples, right? So
Hmm.
let's say you have someone who is anxious. So we're talking about attachment styles.
Mm-hmm.
You have somebody who's anxious, right? And there's someone who they are always worried about their partner. They're preoccupied with their partner. They like them a lot, and so they want to make sure they can do everything they can to please this person.
Mm-hmm.
They go above and beyond for this person.
Mm-hmm.
They try to even change how they respond, how they act, because they don't want to do anything to make this person upset because they fear that the person will abandon them,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just anxious, anxiously attached. So let's say this person comes across a person who's avoidant, right? Someone who doesn't need a lot of attention, someone who kind of like shies away if a person is too forward with them or too in their face all the time. This anxious person, for example, they may figure out that this avoidant person really likes sex, and they may learn what their kinks are actually are.
Mm-hmm.
This anxious person may then begin to use that because they feel like they can use that to keep this person around. And that becomes a cycle within itself. And so then they're like, okay, well, when if I'm tired, if I can't perform, then my partner goes away.
Mm-hmm.
I lose their interest.
It's kind of like you become codependent.
Yes, codependent. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, um, is there any part of the question that we didn't answer? You think?
Um. So she. Want me to replay the question just to
Okay.
make sure?
Mhm. Yeah.
Hey, you guys, I have a question, kind of like a multiple part question. But my question is, what is sex without commitment really doing to us? Like, are we trying to fill voids when we're having sex? Or is it really just to get pleasures? What is it? What is sex really doing for us if we're not committed or married? Are we trying to have sex to get a connection? I don't know.
So yeah, so I mean, I think that like her even saying, or even asking, like, are we, trying to fill a void in a sense, like it goes back to what you were saying. Like sometimes it just depends on the person, Some people become codependent, and with them becoming codependent on someone, instead of them dealing with their own BS or whatever they have going on, they will become codependent and want to only have sex because, like you said, they found that kink in their partner,
Right. They
and they.
found like that's the thing that will help them keep that person around. So I might be a horrible partner. I might not be able to
Mm-hmm.
do anything else right, but I know that you enjoy having sex with me. And so I will just use that, even though you don't want to be with me anymore. I know that
You love sex.
the sex that we have will keep that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And it is filling a void because it's filling a void of, you know, a pseudo partner, like someone who is in the place of a partner because you don't really have one,
Mm.
right? So people can fall into that. They call it like in sex work, they call it the girlfriend experience, right? So
Not the girlfriend experience.
yeah, a person will pay, or they'll pay the sex worker to basically pretend to be
Mm-hmm.
their girlfriend for X amount of time. It will usually sex is included in that, but they just want to basically want to rent the person's time. Like, I want to be able to take you out to eat. I want us to cuddle on the couch and watch Netflix.
Something like an escort.
Yes, I want us to do all it's all this. Yes, it's all under the same umbrella. But
Mm.
this man is buying this companionship to fill a void because he does not have that, and for whatever reason, he feels like he doesn't have enough resources, perhaps emotionally or physically, for him to be able to get that from someone on a regular basis without having to make it in a transactional arrangement. Like the escort situation.
Like the escort situation.
Yeah, just because perhaps he doesn't have confidence that he has enough personality or enough. He might think he doesn't look good enough to actually get his own companion.
I
So they,
just think I just think that, like, when it comes to people paying for like sex and things like that, of course, like I understand the purpose of it. But I think that sometimes I look at it as like I really wish that people would take the time to really, work on themselves and figure out what that insecurity is so that they will really be able to find out, who they are and what are their good qualities, you know.
Some people know who they are, and they know what they're not willing to give up. So some people
That's true.
they look at sex like a commodity. Like, I can get that when I need to get it. I know how to go about getting that. But other than that, I'm all about my money or my business or whatever the case
Yeah,
is. And
my
it's not,
family, because
yes,
there's people that pay for.
I'm not always saying people who pay for it. All of them don't have low self esteem.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Some of them, they just don't. They don't prioritize the companionship aspect, and like the give and take, the compromise that it takes to be with someone long term. So they rather just have an arrangement. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Right.
There are people out there who that's how they look at it. But it goes back to what I was saying. Everyone views sex differently. Like for me, and for a lot of women, they view sex as a chance to bond with their
Mm-hmm.
partner, with someone that they care about. That's why they call it making love, right? But for
Mm-hmm.
everyone, sex is not making love.
Yeah, some people's sex is just sex.
Hmm. Yes, ducking with an F.
Okay. Not ducking with
We're on YouTube. I'm trying to.
it. Come on. I love it. Ducking with an F. I hope you guys got that one. Well, keep your questions coming in. We'll be back with another one. I am your boy, Coach Jay. Please follow me at Get Well Wit Mail. So Get Well, WIT Mail, MELL. And could keep your questions coming in. And my co-host name is.
I'm Cam the Queen. Also, you can use the handle Self Love is the Key Wellness if you look us up on Instagram. And we are super excited to answer any more questions that you have. So keep them coming.
All right, you guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. This was fun. Bye.
It really was.
Yes.